Hello, Glampreneurs. This is like our fourth time attempting this. We have been trying to record this podcast, and by we, I have someone here with us today. So there's going to be something a little bit different. We have two podcast hosts, two podcasts recording at the same time. So we're going to be interviewing each other, introducing ourselves to each other's audience. And Jasmine, go ahead and introduce yourself, and then I will do the same.
Yes. So thank you for your patience. I'm just going to say that this is going to be a great episode already, but my name is Jasmine Jones, and I am the host of the Beauty in the Network podcast, where I talk all about marketing, lifestyle, CEO habits, and everything that you need to know to start, scale, and maintain your beauty or service-based business so that it does not run your life. You run it with confidence. And I basically started my business because at the age of 19, right after I was done with cosmetology school, I got this gut instinct that I should be pursuing bridal, but I needed to find a job while I was trying to figure out the pathway of bridal. And I was putting in my resume to all of the well-known salons in my area. They were very excited about my resume because of my retail sales, my retention, how many people I brought into the school. And they were excited for me until they actually saw me in person, because they didn't realize that this bubbly voice was attached to a young, dark-skinned, melanated female. And I just had a lot of diversity issues, and that really is what led me to basically take control of my own income versus putting it in the hands of someone else. I had a lot of mindset struggles in the very beginning, but eventually I was able to start my own bridal beauty agency, which I own now. We service North, South Carolina, Tennessee, and Georgia. And I have 18 licensed cosmetology and aesthetics freelance artists that work for my business and represent my brand very well, if I do say.
That is awesome. And tell my audience the name of your podcast.
The podcast is called the Beauty and the Network podcast.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, thank you for sharing that. I am Deandra Giselle, podcast host of Life After Beauty School, and I am a business coach for hairstylists. My background is public relations and advertising. I worked at an advertising agency in the ATL for 2 years. The market crashed. I lost my job, and I had to just kind of rethink what I was doing, why I was doing it. And I ended up going to cosmetology school right after that. And I moved in with my mom, and I had a 5-year-old son, and I was starting a new career. And even though it was, really brought me to where I'm at today. In the moment, it was really hard to just start that career. So here on the Labs podcast, you will get a lot of marketing tips because that is my background. You will get mindset because I like to marry life skills with marketing strategies so that you can be a CEO and a boss in your business and really just deal with the balance of being a mom and a CEO. So you'll find that at the podcast and also on my Instagram.
Yes, yes. Well, that is exciting.
Yes. So, Jasmine, I'm going to ask you, because this is something I talk about a lot when I'm teaching hairstylists to really niche it down. And what made you decide to niche down to a beauty bridal business?
Yeah. So originally, like I said, I originally wanted to do cut colors and highlights, but something in my gut basically told me to pursue the bridal world. And when I first stumbled upon the bridal world, I was servicing everyone. If you're getting married, I wanted to do your hair and makeup. But I realized very fast that that was not a pathway that was very intentional or strategic, because the clients that I were actually booking and working with, they were great, but they weren't necessarily my cup of tea. Now, our marketing is geared more towards the natural glam for the bride who wants to be like her 2.0 authentic self. A lot of our brides don't wear makeup, so we want to help them just look like an elevated version of themselves, but not completely transform them into a completely different person. And another thing that my business is known for is diversity and inclusion. My brand in my hometown where I was at before I moved, we were the known bridal beauty team for if you had a mixed race bridal party, then they're booking with us. And that was the lane that kind of it fell into my lap. It was just kind of a no-brainer for me. But that is really when my business started to take off. We got known for the diversity the brand that just wants you to feel like an elevated 2.0 version of yourself. So once I actually niched down and claimed that lane, business skyrocketed. And that is actually what led me to move from Charleston to I'm close to Charlotte, North Carolina. I actually live in Rock Hill, but nobody knows where that's at. So I tell people Charlotte. And then after that, we were able to expand to Tennessee and Georgia. So when you niche down, it's easy for people to recognize your brand. You get a amazing reputation, and it kind of speaks for itself when it's known for something aside from just cute hair and cute makeup.
Mm-hmm. That's good that you say that. One of my mentors says something all the time, and he says, people purchase where they see themselves, which is why niching down is important, because then you can hone in on that specific target audience. They see themselves in your business, and then they want to come and see you. And even though she niched down, you guys, key word was her business skyrocketed. So that doesn't mean that you're, cutting your profits in half. You're actually increasing those profits because you know exactly who you're talking to. So that is awesome.
Yes, yes. And I would love to ask you a question. So earlier you were talking a little bit about how you blend the life and the business together because you do have little ones at home. And for me, I love to use myself as an example. And I know for me, when I started to focus more on trying to bring in some kind of balance, whatever that balance looks like for us, it's going to be completely different. But I know for me, I needed balance because I had no boundaries around when work started, when work ended. My boyfriend, now fiance, he wanted to go out, and I was like, I have to work. I can't go out. So for you, do you have like a pivoting moment that really led to you wanting to focus more on the sustainability between being a mom, being a boss, and how you blend it together? Do you have any tips for anyone who feels like they have no balance at all, and how to actually work towards getting that for themselves?
Yeah. So the moment that showed me I needed to kind of figure out the harmony between the two was my son plays basketball seriously. He's 16, going to be 17. He is 6'5" at this age. So he's always been tall for his age, but he's serious about going to college and playing. And what happened for me was that I was not able to make a lot of his games. Saturday and Sunday, travel ball, those are the games. And I work on Saturdays. And those were like one of my money making days. And I was scared to let go of those days, but I was feeling heavy mommy guilt when I couldn't make those games. So I knew something had to change. So I just started to decide that I was going to show up more for my son. And so the reason why I don't really talk about balance is because we know that as entrepreneurs, our business goes up and it goes down, it goes up and it goes down. And sometimes you have to lean more into your business, and your family, I don't want to say takes a back seat, but they understand that you have to be laser focused on that. And then sometimes you have to lean more into your family because things are going on, or you just want to, and what I decided was that I was no longer going to work on Saturdays and Sundays, which is like kind of unheard of. And my clients adjusted. There was no issue. I thought I was going to lose people. I thought I was not going to be able to, bring the same income in, and they were understanding. And I, created some boundaries and guidelines, and I stuck to them. And you guys will see me say that a lot on social media, which is create your guidelines, create your boundaries, and stick to them. That is how you're going to be able to create the harmony between family and work. So I don't answer text messages after business hours. I don't work for the last minute client who didn't schedule their appointment in time. It's like, I'm sorry, you can get on my wait list. And people respect that. It seems scary because you're like, but if I don't do their hair, I don't make money. But they respect that. And if you have your business running the way it's supposed to, you won't be scrambling to make profit.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. That's such a great tip. And, something that I always say, because I'm not a mama yet, but I definitely want to be able to like go to my kids, plays and any of the things that they really have. So I know for me, boundaries, just even now, making a priority of what's important right now. And for me, I like to say like different seasons, I'm focusing on different things. So that was a great tip right there.
Yeah. And I want to say it doesn't matter if you have kids or not. There are things that you just want to do. You know what I mean? Like I see your posts about self-care. Those are all important things. And whether you have kids or not, you got to create boundaries with your clients. Like you have to. So one of the questions I have for you is, you niche down into having a bridal business. And was there ever any fear in niching down? And if so, how did you overcome that fear?
Yeah, so just like I was talking about before, once I actually niched down into the 2.0 version style of makeup and really servicing a wide range of skin tones and hair textures, before my marketing was just like, hey, if you're getting married, we can do your hair and makeup, right? It wasn't necessarily like, hey, are you looking to feel like this? Are you looking to experience this? So the people that we were actually attracting, we had a more of a higher price point, and they just didn't really see the value because we weren't talking about the value. We were just talking about hair and makeup. And I was very afraid that if I got very specific, that I was going to cut people off. But when we actually narrowed down, like I said before, that's when our business really skyrocketed because we got known for something very specific. We got known for our specialty, our aesthetic, our style. And for anyone who is worried about cutting people off or making people feel like the service isn't for them, it's actually going to attract more people to you. And now when you have a specialty, when you have a lane that you can claim, you can put a premium on that price tag. So that's just my experience with it. I wish that I would have got very specific in my business at the very start, but I learned best by my mistakes. So without even going through that, I wouldn't have known why I would have had that success or why I was having a roadblock. So now whenever I have people who are like, something's going on, I'm like, get very specific in who you want to attract, who you want to serve, and how you want to serve them. So that's my tips for niching down and what my experience was.
Awesome. No, that is key, because I think that if you if you don't niche down, like I just was thinking about all my mistakes too, and just being all over the place. You know what I mean? Like I was just
Mm-hmm.
like, oh, I need to do this, I need to do that. And you're right. I was talking about cute hair, cute makeup, but not about the whole entire experience and
Yeah.
a different type of clientele. And the thing that you said that makes so much sense is you start talking about the experience, they understand the value, they understand the price point.
Yes, absolutely. And that's something that I feel like a lot of beauty pros don't necessarily think of. We're like, oh, well, we come to you or have silky hair, have straight hair. But it's like, what does that actually do for them? Like,
Mm-hmm.
what problem does that solve for them? So, just getting very into like the external and the external benefits of what you're actually providing for them.
Yeah, that's good. I love it.
Okay, so my next question for you is, since you said that you have a background in PR and in marketing, so for you, when you branched off and got into the beauty world after you were done with cosmetology school, would you say that your PR and your marketing background experience, do you think that it really helped you, or do you think that there were some challenges that you had to kind of overcome even with having that prior background knowledge?
I'm going to say yes to both.
Okay.
So it definitely helped me because I understood how to market my business. Like I understood the importance of having a target audience. I understood branding, what it means to have a cohesive brand so that people can recognize you. But I still made mistakes. I was still learning from my mistakes. And it took me a while to even realize that what I had learned in college could help me in my current business. So when I married those two things together, I felt like I was just a bit above most salons, and not saying that we were better than, but how we were running our business was more efficient. Understanding that, okay, everything at the time, the salon colors was like purple and like black, white, and purple, right? So our website reflected that. We used a certain font. So people knew when they saw these, like they associated those colors with us and what they bring.
Mhm.
The vibe, I understood immediately what type of vibe needed to happen. Did I understand that I was showing value? No, but they enjoyed the experience. And when we raised prices, there was no issue because they
Mhm.
understood, like, oh, this is how I feel when I'm here. This is what I get when I'm here. So I never had like, clients saying, oh, you guys are expensive or whatever.
Yeah.
We actually had people walk into the salon, look around and be like, you know what? I don't think this salon's going to be for me. And that was not offensive at all. It was like, oh, if you want to be at a not a salon, but a shop. Is I like there's a difference between the two. If you want to be at a
Yeah.
shop where, there's no appointments, you're going to be there all day, you guys are going to gossip about other hairstylists and other clients, then if that was your vibe, then my salon wasn't for you. And
Mhm.
so I felt like we really understood what our purpose was because of my background. I understood what it was like to have an image. So I trained my hairstylist to really make sure that their image was a certain way. And, I think it just propelled us forward faster, but there was definitely mistakes made.
I love that.
There's definitely mistakes made.
Yes, I love that. And even like what you were just saying, like the vibe. So I know there's a lot of bridal artists that follow me who have like studio locations, and they're so big about the vibe and wanting things to be pretty and cute, but they don't necessarily, just like you were talking about, like with the brand colors and the vibe, and someone can walk in and instantly know like this is going to be my salon home, or maybe this isn't for me. Like when you have a specific idea of who you want to serve, you know how to curate that space and that environment. And I think that that's something that isn't necessarily talked about a lot
Mm-hmm.
in the beauty world, but it's a big component to client retention, especially if you do like cut color services where people are coming back aside from bridal. So I love that you mentioned that, and that's definitely something that is very important when you have a space.
Yeah. And I also want to say too that everything should be about your audience, your target
Mm,
audience, your client avatar is what I
yeah,
call it. Even the type of music that you play, even the
yeah.
vibe of the salon. It shouldn't be, oh, these are my favorite, songs. So I play
Yeah.
these. So
My
my
favorite
salon,
colors.
yeah, my favorite
Yeah.
colors. Like, what does your salon, your business, your brand represent? And then those are your colors. So full transparency, purple was my favorite color.
Hmm.
I did not like, oh, let me look into the meaning of the color. Now, when I rebranded, I did start looking into the meaning of certain colors, and that's how I chose them. And that's what everything was about. But initially, it was my favorite color.
Yeah.
But the music that I played reflected the type of client avatar I created. So, for instance, I played like old school jams, like Earth, Wind, and Fire. I played,
Yeah.
and those are jams for everybody, but
Yeah.
they're like classic tunes that, even my daughter can dance to at 3 years
Oh,
old.
yeah.
But it wasn't like, rap music or, I remember one day I walked into my salon and one of my hairstylists opened for me and she was playing Back That Thing Up. And I was like, ma'am, no. And it wasn't because that ain't the jam. That's the jam.
Yeah.
But I'm like, that's not this environment, right? So
Yeah.
when we're cleaning up and no other, clients are in there, we could play whatever we want to clean up. But while the doors are open and clients are here, we play jams. And that was because my target audience was women who were 40 and up, and they
Yeah.
were bosses, meaning they were lawyers, doctors, they just made a certain income bracket and
Yeah.
they wanted to relax, but still have a good time. And that's what the
Yeah.
salon had to reflect. So, I'm like, club music didn't belong in the salon,
I love that. I love that. And like one thing that I definitely want to say before you get on to the next question is that's something that I talk a lot about when it comes to your brand personality online. It's like, who are you talking to? Like for us, our predominant clientele is between like 28 to 38. So I know certain words, certain topics, certain boy band groups that were popular back in the day. Those are things that they're going to be that they can easily relate to. And even when I have like email communication, like what verbiage are you using? Are you saying like bride tribe, glam squad? We attract more of like that younger, mindful community. So some of the word choices that we use is going to be specific to that clientele. So all of that, yes. Even like on wedding days, the playlist, yes.
Yes, like all of
Yes.
that matters. And I love that we're really getting into that because I think even though you may create your client avatar or you create who your target audience is, sometimes you lose sight that every single thing that you do pertaining to your business needs to be from them, down
Yeah.
to your word choices, right? So I love that. But since you mentioned emails, so I had
Mhm.
listened to your podcast and you talked about how you automate your interactions with your
Yeah,
clients. And
absolutely.
I was like, light bulb, because I'm like, oh my goodness. I mean, I understand automating for like coaching businesses and things like that, but it never dawned on me to automate your business as a beauty professional, no matter what your niche is. So can you talk about what those automations are or how you do it?
Yeah, so I can kind of break it down in phases. So, of course, I have an automated inquiry experience. So someone reaches out, they want to know what our dates are, our availability. So I have an inquiry process that's automated. They just fill out a form and they instantly receive an email just saying like, thank you so much for taking the time to, connect with us. Here's some details until we reach out to you with the next step. That's the most important part. Let them know that we're going to reach out with you for the next step. And the second process that I have is basically my booking process. Either I want to pursue that client or either I want to refer them to someone else. Personally, we do have a service minimum. Since I do utilize a team, I like to prioritize larger bookings versus solo bookings. So that's just going to determine what template they get. Either here's some recommendations or here, let's talk a little bit more about the next step in getting you a customizable proposal. So once they get that proposal, everything is automated after that, unless they ask like a random question. But I like to break things down in a very milestone based client journey. So for bridal, it's very easy to automate bridal. You can utilize this if you have repeat clients who are doing like treatments and things like that. But for bridal, for example, if I have someone who books their hair and makeup 6 months out, I know that I need to get certain amount of information from them. That's going to be automated in my welcome process. And I know that 3 months out before their wedding, I'm probably going to start planning for their trial. So I'm going to have an automated email that says, hey, it's time to plan for your trial. And then, of course, getting closer to their wedding date, I'm going to do that last check-in. They're going to get their timeline. And these are all sequences that I have automated. And in order for you to really automate your business, you need to know what happens at the start, in the middle, and at the very end, so that you can break things down to see what's going to be the most effective and efficient way for you to set up your automation and set up how you actually go about your work days. So I like to work in quarterly chunks. So since I know that something is going to happen 6 months out, 3 months out, I now know what I need to focus on my client admin days 6 months out or 3 months out, which allows me to be at least like 3 to 4 months ahead of client work, since I put that strategy into my business, because a lot of the bridal world is hurry up and go. So anything that can really help you get a head start on planning for your client details and anything like that, I just like to go ahead and automate it. But it took me a while to map that out, see what worked. I have a little process that's called develop the process, test the process, automate the process. And all you're doing is just testing out what flow works best for you. Just kind of like you were saying, finding the balance that works best for you and your household, whether you're a mom or you're not a mom. So that's definitely what led to that process that you heard on the podcast.
Yeah, but I was just thinking, even if you don't have a bridal business, if you have your client avatar and you know who your target audience is, you can start figuring out the start of the experience, the middle, and the end, like you said. Based on like, if you're a colorist, there's certain questions you need to ask in the beginning. There's things that they may need to know in the middle and, towards the end to get them to reschedule with you. So I could totally see even with extensions, haircuts, like all of those things. But if you know who your client is, then I think that you can find a way to automate it.
Absolutely. And something that popped into my head and something that I utilize is at certain steps, I have my automated email, but of course I have affiliated links. Maybe it's a recommendation for skincare or how they can start their own skincare routine. And it's just products that we recommended. So not only can you focus on servicing your salon clients in a way that is more automated, now you can actually plug in your retail, like, hey, you haven't been into the salon for, 8 weeks now. You might need a new shampoo or you might need this. Here's some links that can help you, put something in your cart, or we can save it for you for your next appointment or whatever it is. So there's
Yeah.
so many ways to like, I
Mhm.
love strategy. So
That's good.
there's so many ways that you can blend in how you serve and really build with that additional income that you have.
That's good. That was like an additional money tip. So not only are
Oh yeah.
you keeping in contact with your client, but you're actually getting more source of revenue that doesn't require you to do anything else but send them an email.
Absolutely.
Oh, that was good. I'm like, let me write that down.
Yes, yes, that's something that I started to implement around October of 2018, because that is when I had my first month of making $0. And
Mm,
it was because of hurricane season. So where I'm from, Charleston, South Carolina, I had all of my brides were getting married in downtown Charleston. If you've ever been to downtown Charleston, when it rains for 5 minutes, it literally floods. So it was terrible. Like power was out, no one could get into the city, and a lot of my brides had to reschedule, kind of like this pandemic. But what I realized is that, okay, my team and I made no money. Our payment structure was very different. We were getting paid on the day of versus now we get paid 3 months in advance. But with that, I was able to see my business has a lot of gaps that need to get filled. Like, what am I going to do if I were to come into a situation where I can't make that income? And that's when I started to learn about passive income, affiliated marketing, and I started to test it out. And after I started doing that, I was like, okay, I need to double down on this. How can I really make this into a way that is selling for me automatically? And that's when I started to integrate it into my email communication and how I service my clients.
wow, that's good. So, question, when
Yes.
did that help you? Because that was in 2018, right?
Yes.
Did that help you in 2020 when, things were kind of shut down?
It definitely did. And I love how for me, I get in preparation before I actually need the thing. And it's all about just listening to my gut. So in 2020, yes, after I was a little sad, like hairstylist on the floor, being dramatic, I said, okay, well, this is the situation. What am I going to do now? How am I going to move forward? What's going to be the best choice? And we just focused more so on our online shop. And then I actually pivoted a little bit more and spent more time building up my virtual branch. But even with the passive income that I already had in there, and just to kind of give you like a little bonus tip, I'm big on email newsletters. So if anybody inquires with our business, there's a little upsell in the background, or not like an upsell, but there's like a next step where they can actually get on our newsletter list. And we're able to nurture people who didn't necessarily become a client with us, but they go through the same phase. So it's like, hey, you're planning for a wedding. Are you interested in like checking out some of these bridal hair accessories? Or
Mm,
hey, you and your bridal party are going to be getting ready. Check out some of these getting ready robes. So even though they didn't become our client, they became our client through the extension of our virtual branch. So if you want to start even thinking about how you can start implementing affiliated sales, retail into your business, don't necessarily have to focus on people who are your actual clients who come into the salon. Think about your full audience, because they're following you for a reason. So
yeah.
don't be shy into finding different ways that you can service people who aren't your clients.
Wow, that was good. That was really good. I'm like, as you're talking, I'm getting so many ideas of how that can be incorporated, even if it's not a bridal
Yes,
beauty business. Like it
yeah,
can, every person needs something to maintain their hair, their makeup, something
yeah,
beauty, self-care kits. Like there's so many things that you can
absolutely.
put into that online branch.
So, my next question for you is, so I love how you are one. showcasing a lot about how you are growing your business, your mom, and you are very intentional about what it is that you say, what it is that you post on social media. For anybody who is really trying to step more into like their true authentic self and show up with more confidence, what would you say would be the biggest thing that you see with maybe people that you work with or maybe yourself? What would you say is something that really helped you catapult like your personal brand for people to know you so that they get attracted to who you are and help them figure out like, is this somebody who I want to work with? Do I want them to be in my space doing my hair or just basically come to your salon? What is something that has definitely helped you when it comes to confidence and just being your true self that's helped your business grow?
I will say that it's clarity of what, and I just posted this today. It's clarity on, what is my business? Why do I do it? And who my target audience is, because they're a reflection of me. Right? Yeah. They're a reflection of me. So once I have clarity in that, then I feel confident in what I'm saying. Do I always feel confident in every single thing? Like I'm branching into a new aspect of my business. I've been a hairstylist for years. I've been a cosmetology instructor for years. And now I'm going into coaching. And every time you get into a new category in your life or a new journey in your life, you're going to feel insecure, maybe even counterfeit, or you may feel like you're not like, what makes me the expert in this, right? It's like, because it's uncharted territory, you're not familiar with it. And I go back to the facts. And there's actually a exercise that I tell the ladies that I coach that they need to do. And I'm like, okay, so all those thoughts that you have about yourself, let's write them down. I don't care if there's the ridiculous, like how ridiculous it is. I don't care. Let's write them down. And they'll start saying like, I'm a fraud. I don't know what I'm talking about. Or, and then after they write all those things down, I'm like, now let's go back to the facts. So what makes you a fraud? How long have you been doing hair? How long have you been doing this? And we go back to the facts. And when they see them side by side, they're like, why am I telling myself this? Another thing is creating another activity that I have them do is writing down all the what ifs, because that kind of hinders us too. And I do this for myself. Like, what if I post this post and nobody likes it? What if I don't get any followers? What if I don't have anyone sit in my chair? What if I decide to do this niche and I'm not good at it? So then I'm like, okay, go ahead and do your what ifs. And then again, we go through the facts. And a lot of times the what ifs are absolutely ridiculous. Like they're, I remember when I was like, oh, I'm going to educate more. So I had to do this exercise when I was going to No Saturdays. And I'm like, okay, so what if I switch to no weekends and nobody comes to me anymore? And then we're broke and then we have to live in our car. And like, I just did this ridiculous scenario that honestly, so many things had to come into play before that was even a reality. And so when we see things that we're telling ourselves on paper, and then we go back to the actual facts, the thing that you've done, when we see them side by side, we're like, that doesn't make sense. I can do this. And so how I have been able to be more confident in the things that I'm doing is I've had clarity. I do that exercise. And then the things I'm not good at, I practice. I was not always good with public speaking. There's something for that. There's Toastmasters. You can learn how to be a better public speaker. I started doing exercises where I look in the mirror and I see what type of facial expressions I make, and whatever you're not good at, you can practice, you can do, you can be better at it.
Absolutely. I love that. And something that I love that you said is that just like you have to practice, and even like going through the what ifs, like so many people are like, well, what if I go live and nobody watches it? Or what if I promote and nobody books? Like, keep going, And I feel like sometimes we put so much pressure on ourselves for things to be perfect the first time. And when it's not perfect the first time, we come up with, well, this is why I shouldn't have done this. And just to like let you guys know, I'm sure you probably can, attest to this as well, but I've had to try things like 10, 12 times before I even got any kind of results. And it's that faith, it's the vision that really leads you to keep going and
Mm-hmm.
keep trying to basically perfect the vision that you have. And you were not given a vision in general for it to not be possible for you. You just have to keep going. And so many people, they stop before they actually get to, I don't even want to say the finish line because there's no finish line, but so many people, so many people stop before they even reap the benefits of their hard work because they're putting so much pressure on themselves and making it mean things about themselves when it's not exactly how they want it to be the first time. So I love that.
Yeah, I really think that we have to stop trying to go for perfection, which is
Mhm.
why I had did this post as well saying stop comparing yourself to others. Like, stop it. Your journey is yours. You have to go through a different journey to be who you're supposed to be. I
Mhm.
had to go to college, go work in my field, get laid off, move back in with my mom, start a career, own a salon, own a suite, and then be a cosmetology instructor, all
Mhm.
in order to be able to coach people because I can say, I've been through that. I know where
Yeah,
you're at. And
absolutely.
so it's your journey. Don't compare yourself to anyone else and just keep going. I was just telling my son the other day with basketball, like, there is no finish line, sweetie. When
Mhm.
you attack a goal and you get it, you're not done. You can
Right.
sit there and be excited for a little bit, but then we have to move on to the next
Yeah.
because you'll get stagnant and you'll find that you're no longer growing. You talked about a launch, and in one of your podcasts again, you
Uh-huh.
talked about how you were able to get fully booked, and I want to hear about this because I have students who want to specialize in bridal and they're like, but it's only a season.
Mhm.
And I'm like, wait, I know someone who gets fully booked and was able to get fully booked in one launch. And so can you talk about that? And then also,
Yes.
because before a second part of that is everyone thinks that they need like a million K followers in order to get fully booked. Can
Yeah.
you talk about like how does that play a role, if it even does, in your business?
Yeah. So to talk about that launch was last year and it was amazing. So if you don't know what a launch is, I basically just like to describe a launch as a strategic promotional period where you're showing up and you're basically selling one specific service. I have a core service that's called my Southern Charm package. It's the only package that I talk about on my platform for that specific reason. And I was basically showing up for about 3 weeks. Of course, not every single day of the 3 weeks. And I had intentional content that was based around, just different ideas that people who were getting married, what they might think, like, oh, well, what's the point of having a trial? Why is the bride's makeup so expensive? Or I've had trial runs with people in the past, but I didn't necessarily get the result that I wanted. Basically, meeting them with where they are at in their journey and talking more about the way that they want to feel, the way that they want to look. And with that launch, what I did was I love to utilize live. I love to talk. Talking is, I think that is one of my gifts. But what I did was I did collaborations. So if you feel like you have a small following and you're like, well, how do I make this something that could actually help me? Utilize collaboration. So reach out to wedding planners, wedding photographers, anybody in the wedding industry and just interview them. This is how you're going to be able to get yourself in front of somebody else's audience, but you're both giving value to each other's audiences. And it's not like, oh, well, I want to go live with so and so that I can get followers, but you're not necessarily giving them any kind of value. So become the expert whenever you are doing these collaborations. I want to say I did about like 5 or 6 collaborations, and with the number of collaborations that I did, I want to say that we were able to get in front of at least 15,000 extra people. So when we did that over the span of a couple of 3 weeks, now leading up to the 3 weeks, I was going live every other week with somebody for those 6 collaborations. So throughout that period, we had people who followed us.
What's up, everyone? So, Jasmine and I have been trying to record this podcast, and for whatever reason, we have been having the hardest time, lots of technical difficulties. So, our audio will probably be good, but video, if you're watching on YouTube, may not be, but the information is still good nonetheless. So, if you cannot take the video, go ahead and listen to the podcast, and we're just going to make it work. We are going to fight through this because Jasmine is someone that you guys really need to hear from. So we're going to keep going.